Hello and welcome to The Quest on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Rakhee Bakshee. This show has given you deep insights into the life, career and vision of a leading personality. And that leading personality this time is a well-known environmentalist. She's director of CSE. She's Miss Sunita Narain. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you, Rakhee.
And we would like you to talk about some of the issues that you're going to talk about. But first of all, how's your health now?
Rakhee, much better. I'm really happy to be alive. As you know, I went through an accident about now 3 months ago. I was cycling in Delhi. And people think I'm mad to cycle in Delhi, but I think we have to find a way that we can all have safe cycling in Delhi. And a car hit me and fled. And as you can see, I broke both my hands and my nose. And
we're thankful to Almighty that you're all well. But
I'm also thankful to the doctors of All India Medical Institute, particularly the trauma center. I have to tell you that remarkable people with huge commitment, and I'm really grateful to them and to the people who took me to the trauma center that I'm alive today. They're very good people in this country, absolutely.
Yeah, but talking about cycling, which you've raised as an issue now also, how much do you feel that, people, I mean, you have talked about the whole transportation system as such, and you have said that cars don't have the only right to rule on the road.
See, Rakhee, my concern is air pollution. I mean, today in Delhi, we have terrible air pollution again. And I keep getting mails from people. People write to me saying, देखिए, asthma बढ़ता जा रहा है. हमारे घर में हर लोगों को asthma है. सांस नहीं ले पा रहे हैं आज. बीमारियां बढ़ती जा रही हैं. We don't understand that this health impact of air pollution is really killing our society, taking away our health. And we in CSE first pushed very hard to get CNG, as you know. And 10 years ago, the city of Delhi made a huge transition. We moved all our buses to CNG, moved all our auto rickshaws to CNG. We managed to clean up Delhi's air. We managed to reduce air pollution to some extent.
What was the kind of struggle you faced that time? Because when you started it, I mean, people would not believe that what kind of magic she's talking about.
No, in fact, it was a very difficult struggle at that time, Rakhee, because you're very right. People basically said that first people would not accept the link between air pollution and health. So remember, this is late 80s, early 90s or late 90s, and people would say, "Arey, धुआं ही तो है." What is the health impact of it? I think that became clear. But then the solution we were saying was CNG. We were saying, don't try and incrementally change the quality of your fuel because you will always stay behind the problem. Change your fuel itself to a cleaner fuel. And there was huge resistance because, for one, the idea was new. It had never been tried in the world at the scale we were trying. And of course, you can't adulterate CNG, so people didn't like it because, there's a huge business in adulteration of diesel and petrol. So huge resistance. And you will remember, Rakhee, that when in those days, there used to be a bus burning every time. And it used to always happen जब कोर्ट की hearing होने वाली है तो उससे पहले एक बस जल जाती थी. And it used to happen only to create so much
terror around
it.
That is not correct.
And it was a difficult time, but I am glad that we managed to get it done.
How do you feel about Delhi now? And in fact, when we compare it to world cities, and we're talking about things improving in and around Delhi, in fact, the whole of nation, how would you look at it now?
I'm very depressed, and I'm depressed and angry because it's not just Delhi, but all over India today, air pollution is increasing tremendously. In Delhi, we managed to reduce air pollution levels because of CNG, but then the number of vehicles increased to such a large number that today, in Delhi, we are registering 1,200 vehicles a day. 1,200 new vehicles a day come onto Delhi roads. Just think about it.
It's scary, actually.
It is scary. And as a result of it, we have cleaned up the quality of fuel, cleaned up our emission standards, but then we have added that many more vehicles, so the gains are negated. And today pollution is increasing. Now that is why, Rakhee, I really strongly believes that unless India has another leapfrog. So the first leapfrog was CNG. The second leapfrog is mobility transition. Why can't we change the way we drive? Why can't we think about a modern city of Delhi or Pune or Sholapur or Pondicherry or anywhere where you can buy a car but you can keep it in the garage because you have such an accessible,
but one has to re-look at the town planning and the whole system.
Yes, you have to, but it is not impossible. Because today most of Delhi, most of our cities does not take a car. We just believe it does because we only see cars on the road. But even in Delhi, only 13% of Delhi drives. Only 13%, Rakhee. And yet 90% of your road space is taken up by 13% of the car walas. And you're building a flyover, and then you're building a double-decker flyover, and you're talking about a triple-decker flyover. And as soon as you build...
party which says, oh, this much improvement has happened, how would you look at that?
देखिए, improvement... You will have to think about what do you mean by improvement. If you take health indicators and you say, is urban health improving? It is not. If you take urban air quality, it is not improving. If you take a look at how much money we are spending, yes, it is improving. Okay. If you look at it, that how many houses, new malls are coming up, yes, it is improving. How many roads are coming up and flyovers are coming up, yes, it is improving. But if you take a look at is road speed going up or down? We are not. So you're building your flyovers, but road speeds keep coming down.
Yeah.
So the indicator will determine how you value and judge your improvement. Now my belief is, you can definitely do it differently. You can still have improvement, but you have to believe.
You need everybody to go along and kind of build also kind of public awareness, and of course you individually have been trying to do so much. But that takes me to another question of your journey somewhere here. When you started it all, how has it been like, Mr. Anil Agarwal, we knew him, and from there you took on. How was that moment when you started? And then now, of course, you're in the thick of things. I mean, everything which is wrong with the environment, we look at you.
Hey, Rakhee, when I think about it, very interesting. But I also, feel very privileged because when we started, and I worked with Anil, remarkable man, brought consciousness to this country of the value of environment. But he had to fight all the odds, okay? If you think about it, in 1980 when he was telling, and he spoke to Parliament in late 80s, he was telling parliamentarians that environment is important. People would say, "Arey, environment ka kya matlab hai? Ped lagana, patte lagana."
That was the most.
That was the most. And you had to fight to get your message across. Today, you and I will agree on this, that environment is an established issue. Even the biggest polluter will say, I am an environmentalist. Okay.
That gives us some reason to believe.
Okay. And everybody wants green plastic and green buildings and green this and green that. Everybody wants green. Now the challenge for us, and that's the part of the journey which is getting hardest, is people agree with us, but they don't agree with what needs to be done.
That's a pertinent point, and I would like to take a small break here. You're watching The Quest. We are talking to Ms. Sunita Narain, but we'll continue to talk to her about many things that she would be sharing in this program, in this show. But don't go away, we're coming back shortly. Welcome back to the show. We are talking to Ms. Sunita Narain. You were saying everybody understand there is a green word around but don't know how to go about it either, or some of them in fact are terrified, which brings me to another question, that at one point of time you were looked almost, I think by some corporate companies, terrorist, soft drinks in this case. So how was that like? Because they put their own standards, there was a huge battle going on. But you stuck,
we stood our ground and we won, Rakhee. I mean, our concern is as follows. We believe very strongly that India must have the best food standards in the country, and India must have a very careful use of pesticide in India. Now, we did not choose soft drinks as a target, okay? I have to tell you. We just chose soft drinks because we were testing for pesticide in water, and then we tested for pesticides in soft drinks. Now, of course, when we tested and we found the pesticides, there was, as you know, a huge fuss, and then the parliamentary committee with JPC was set up under Mr. Sharad Pawar.
It reached to that level.
It reached to that level. It was the 4th JPC of India.
Yes.
Whoever
will read on JPCs
it will be sort of soft drink JPC, and between Bofors and the scam on stock exchange scam, there is also a cola JPC, as it is
called. But a new chapter was actually opened.
A new chapter was opened, and a lot has happened since then, and I think we should not be cynical about this. Our effort was to clean up the standards, to make Indians aware of the fact that we are going to industrialize in our food, and we need to be careful with what we eat, because we cannot afford the American way, which is that you first fill in toxins and then you worry about your health, or that you eat junk food and then you go to a gym.
But that was a worrying point for two reasons. One, that it was kind of hitting the economy in that sense, and also that it was an issue which, you know, they were putting in their own standards, and they were trying to verify and put sanity
They
into what
didn't have standards, Rakhee. I mean, that is what we have to be clear. They didn't have standards. They didn't have any standards. Now, they were only arguing with us that because we are a 180-year-old company and because we are so big, who are you to tell us anything?
That we are already
that
there.
We are there and we are so big and we have done everything, and tum kaun hote ho? I think we were able to show JPC, we were able to explain to JPC that our logic was that we needed standards for them. JPC recommended standards for them. We also told JPC we need better standards for pesticide management in India, for which JPC also directed the Ministry of Agriculture.
Do you think there's more awareness, and I mean, people are now kind
I
of
think
more
there
cautious?
is definitely more awareness, but we still have a long way to go, because as much as awareness is growing, also food habits are changing. A few years ago, Rakhee, we tested honey. I don't know if you saw that study.
I was going to come to that.
We tested honey for antibiotics.
This was very shocking, actually.
It was very shocking. And again,
and that was foolproof in the sense that, you know,
I mean, how did you think कि तुम्हारे शहद के अंदर antibiotics होंगे? Same antibiotics that you eat if you're ill. And remember the health cost of this. There is the biggest today issue that the world is talking about is antibiotic resistance. Now, antibiotic resistance is a very serious thing. You go to hospital with a life-threatening problem. The doctor gives you an antibiotic, and he finds that the antibiotic doesn't work because you are resistant to it. And the resistance grows because you are exposed to antibiotics in your food, you are exposed to it through
even as I was also reading the way you had kind of talked about it. But do you think that so many companies actually, and especially in either even FMCG or food products that they make, much is still to be looked into in the sense that...
my latest battle is junk food, okay? Because again, my big question is, all over the world today, including America, which is the mecca of junk food, people are talking about an obesity problem. And India today has, ironically, an undernourishment problem and an overnourishment problem. We have children today who are getting more and more obese, who are not playing, and they're eating junk food. There is high levels of diabetes, high level of hypertension.
That's because of lack of awareness and education, because people don't know what they're eating and what they're letting their children to eat.
Yes, it is bad labeling. If you pick up a packet of chips anywhere else in the world, it will tell you how much of that chips is your daily quota of salt, sugar and fat. Pick it up in India, they won't tell you anything. They will put Shah Rukh Khan's picture on it. Okay? So I think it's very important for us to understand that both labeling is important, awareness is important, but also regulation is important. Everywhere in the world, people say you cannot advertise anything that is called junk food during children's cartoon programs. In India, we don't have any such regulation. Everywhere in the world, they say you cannot sell that food or serve it in schools. We don't.
You're saying should be part of the system rather than individual choices and awareness?
Both. It has to be regulated, and it has to also be awareness through labeling. But I can tell you, Rakhee, if you thought that our Coke battle was tough, this is even tougher right now. I hope we'll win it. I hope I can come back to your show and tell you,
are you doing?
that we will change this.
What all are you doing in terms of really pushing it ahead?
Well, at the moment, the High Court has a case on this, and they have set up a committee, and we are looking into it through the committee. We have also got, we are testing this food as well, and obviously building more informing teachers, informing schools of the implications of it. So we are doing as much as we can.
You know, simply speaking, sometimes you just break the comfort of people who are very happy in their own zones, which you break. But on the serious note, how to actually balance development and make it sustainable for everybody, you know?
I think that is the core of the problem, Rakhee. You've really hit it, because frankly, we today in India have a very polarized debate happening. या तो environment चाहिए या development चाहिए, और बीच में the middle road, which is how will you balance environment with development, doesn't exist. And the key reason it doesn't exist, Rakhee, is because our institutions for governance are so weak. At the end of the day, you need to take informed decisions, you need to take careful decisions whether a dam is good in a river or not good in a river. How do you take that decision if you don't have institutions for governance? I'll give you one simple example. Take the Himalayas. Now, in the Himalayas, we know it's ecologically fragile. We know it is prone to landslides. We know we have to plan carefully. Today, the dam planners, the engineers have planned for 70 hydroelectric schemes on the mainstream of the Ganga itself and its tributary. And that would mean that you would actually make sure that parts of the river go dry completely. On the other hand, environmentalists are saying no dams. The middle route in my view is that you have to make sure that the river has water to flow. So the bottom line has to be that the first right of water is for the river, that we will not allow the river to dry.
Okay.
When we have done our calculations, we have shown that if you leave 50% of the water in the river even, your dams can still be built, your hydroelectric projects can be built, you will reduce your energy but not tremendously.
You talk about informed decisions also. In this case, we have a dedicated ministry, and often the ministry also comes into criticism that why you're not sometimes clearing projects, or how would you look at that? That sometimes you take decisions that are considered tough, but at the same time you take it because you're again trying to find a balance somewhere.
The ministry has definitely failed. I'll be very clear with you, and I'm very clear that today there is such a desperation to clear projects, where everybody is trying to get industry to tell them what is wrong with the environmental clearance system. As an environmentalist, the minister has not written to us to say, what do you think is wrong with the environmental clearance system? I will tell the minister that it is very wrong even from our perspective. The fact is the ministry is clearing projects. It has
because
no
it's
rejection
judged
rate.
by that how many projects have you cleared?
It is judged by that, and if you take the hard data, it is actually cleared so many projects that 1/5 of them have not been implemented. And the fact is the ministry has no rejection rate. So my question as an environmentalist is, you may be delaying project clearance. That doesn't help me. But I want rejection, and I want monitoring of the project after you have cleared it.
Because you've seen one to another. Jairam Ramesh was there, now Jayanti Bhatt, who has now again gone back to the party. Would you see a lot of things happening?
I have seen the last 10 years, even longer, to be the worst period of the environmental movement, where every minister, whether it has been Mr. Raja, Mr. Balu, Mr. Ramesh, Ms. Natarajan and now Mr. Moily, are only under pressure to clear projects, and nobody has time to reform the system so that it works for the environment. And I think that is what I hope, that someday we will get a minister who will understand that he or she is the minister for environment and they are not the minister for project clearance.
I hope many of them are listening also, but we are taking another short break right now here in The Quest. We are talking to Ms. Sunita Narain. Don't go away. We're coming back again very shortly. You're watching The Quest right now. We are in conversation with Ms. Sunita Narain. You've been often called the water girl, the air girl, or whatever. Sand mafia was another thing which one officer took on in UP. You're thinking mining, sand, all these other angles which are also coming to the fore, thanks to maybe the media and also the little awareness that has come.
Rakhee, the tragedy of it is that sand mafia came to the limelight when the Durga Nagpal issue happened. But sand mining is happening today also. It's the same speed, same rapaciousness. And the reason is as follows. There are two reasons which we are not coming to the bottom line. One is sand is used for construction industry, and we know construction industry is increasing huge time. India has not even built 1/1,000,000th of the houses it is going to be building. Now, our current law says that you can only build concrete, make concrete out of naturally sourced material. There is huge amount of construction and demolition waste in the cities, which is today used to fill the same lakes, the same water bodies. So on one hand, we are bleeding the river by taking away the sand, reducing its recharge potential. On the other hand, we are breaking down houses and we are dumping the waste into a lake or a pond. We should be reusing that material for also building material. So we have to change our standards so that we can use recycled material in buildings as well. That is one. The second is, let us be clear, sand is a scattered business, sand mining, and it is difficult to regulate as you would regulate a large mine. So you have to think about a modern regulation system in which you can actually regulate sand mining by making sure you have a cluster approach, you give clearance, you have very tough monitoring using, today you can do good remote sensing data, you can monitor, if not from the land, from the sky. You need to think of ways in which you enforce monitoring more better.
So more technology.
More hands on the ground. One of the things we also have to recognize is regulation will require people. It will require technology, it will require good systems of governance, but it will also require government and people. We have, if you look at today our pollution control boards, they have no people. We have never thought about our institutions. In fact, I think if in the next 10 years, India should concentrate on rebuilding its institutions. And our trouble always is, whatever is broken, we don't try and repair it. हम नई कुछ खड़ा करना कोशिश करते हैं.
Escapist, basically.
बिल्कुल. कि ठीक है, pollution control board is broken. अरे, who's going to get into, बहुत मुश्किल है. NGT बना दो, National Green Tribunal बना दो. But National Green Tribunal will depend also on the skills and the knowledge of the pollution control board. So we don't fix those institutions. And I very strongly believe that if you look at mining today you have the Shah Commission report on Goa, on Odisha, in Karnataka, and a lot of that, you cannot say no mining at all. Okay, you will require mining. So people who say no mining are wrong, but people who say mining and all is mine, that is also wrong. And if you want a carefully balanced decision, the question that you asked, the balance will come out of institutions of oversight and monitoring and enforcement. And that is the weakest link today. Today we do not have any monitoring happen. Nobody goes to jail because they break a law. Okay? So where India should be focusing is on enforcement and not on project clearance.
Yeah, because you were part of, let's say, Tiger Reserve also. You headed that project.
So that is doing well.
Yeah, so how is it? Because you were also talking
but
about...
But because we focused on enforcement. The Tiger report that I gave to the Prime Minister some years ago, in which I was tasked with the responsibility to look at post-Sariska, what should happen to India's tigers. I gave a report which essentially set out an agenda to say that, one, we needed to improve the protection of tigers within the reserve. And I looked at how we should hire local guards. I talked about how we should improve enforcement. But I also looked at it to say we needed to make sure that there would coexistence between tigers and human beings. Because one of our biggest challenges in India is that unlike Australia, where forests are wilderness areas, in India forests are habitats of people. So we have to find a way in which poor people can also benefit from conservation. And today the tragedy is that the poorest people of India live where the tigers live. And so there is constant battle between the tigers and the poverty of the people. So you have to take every tiger reserve and say, if I get tourism revenue, it will go to local people. If I get any benefits from this, it will go to local people. They must feel that the tiger brings them benefits.
You know, you fought so much for the people in general, and we're talking about an atmosphere in politics where there's a new party called Aam Aadmi Party. You fought a lot for Aam Aadmi as such. So how do you feel that there is a change in terms of the whole atmosphere around us? Participatory democracy has actually come to the...
I mean, what Aam Aadmi has done, there is no doubt, is remarkable. They have touched a chord in India, which I think was waiting to be touched. A lot of people in India are basically hungry for change. They're also hungry to get their voices heard. And participate. The hunger of feeling that we are also part of the nation building. And I think for some years we have made governance into such a nepotistic exercise that I think people were feeling disenfranchised. So I think Aam Aadmi has touched that chord. And I am very clear, I hope they will succeed, because if they don't, then we are only in for big trouble in the future. I hope all parties will learn from them and all will succeed, because I love democracy. I have to tell you, Rakhee, that I am the greatest fan of democracy.
And you've talked about it internationally too, and I would like to talk about all these conferences that you go to. You put a very strong voice as far as India's own interests either are concerned, and you have said that how local people should get, a feel of what's happening globally. So how do you feel?
No, I think what we have to do,
climate change as such.
Climate change is very clearly an issue which is going to change this world. I mean, India's finance minister is the monsoon, not Mr. Chidambaram. And if we come to the fact that the monsoon today will get more extreme, will get more variable because of climate change, we're already beginning to see impacts on livelihoods. We're beginning to see the impact on agriculture. And it's something that we in India have to take seriously. But the world has to also recognize. But
do you think when we go abroad, are we trying to really push our agenda very strongly?
I think India has pushed on climate change. I would say India has pushed its agenda to say right to development is not the right to pollute. That we also need to secure the right to equitable development of the world. But I think what India will have to do is to lead also today by example and also be able to show the world how do you want the right of development secured. Because let's be very clear, climate change is really about economics. This is not an ecological discussion. This is a discussion on economics. And the world, every country is protecting its own narrow economic interests.
Yeah, true. But we have to find our own space and place.
And we have to find our own space. We have to be leaders of the voice of the voiceless, of the marginalized, and we have to be able to push the world towards a new future. It's a very tough battle India has, and I hope this battle we do not lose.
And as we are just trying to wrap up this program, what is your quest now? Because you've been actually putting up a quest, I think, to do things, and they should be correct and right. That's your quest, I think. But what would you like to say?
Rakhee, my quest doesn't change. My quest is fix the garbage, get rid of the pollution, clean up our rivers. Somehow, let's find a way to do that. And I think that has to be, at least will remain my quest for some years to come as I see it.
Thank you so much for joining the show. We wish you all a healthy life and so wish that you keep fighting for all these voiceless, as you're saying, and thanks a lot for talking to us. And you were watching The Quest as we were talking to Miss Sunita Narain. Hope you liked this edition of The Quest. Thank you for watching. Namaskar and bye-bye.